Good morning, afternoon, or evening, beautiful people of the internet. Welcome back to Let's Solve the Universe, episode 4 with Greg Horton. After some feedback, I've decided to put the announcements in the show notes. If you're looking for where I'll be or where our guests will be, check out lstupodcast.com. My guest today is Greg Horton. He is the casual athlete. This man is absolutely incredible. He's one of those special people that the second you meet him, you just want to talk with him more and more. He's an instant friend. In 2010, he fractured a vertebrae in his spine and spent a year recovering from it, and now he's using that experience to work with some incredible people. He's helped a paralyzed man, use his arms and legs again, and he's helped countless others discover their inner athlete and make fitness work for them. What he does is best described as fitness for the rest of us. He's a very learned man as well. He has a degree in political sci, he has a diploma in development service work, and another diploma in recreational therapy. So he's not just a guy who went on YouTube, read a bunch of tutorials, and put out a shingle saying he's a fitness trainer. He is an actual learned fitness man. The most important attribute of Greg: he is a true gentleman with an absolute heart of gold. And I wish we had more Gregs in the fitness world. Find Greg on Facebook, The Casual Athlete. The Casual Athlete on Facebook. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my sincere pleasure to welcome Greg Horton! Greg Horton is in the hot seat, ladies and gentlemen.
It's me, Greg Horton, casual athlete.
You're finally here. We're finally doing this.
I know. We've been talking about this for a while, actually, right? Like months ago, you just kind of threw it at me like, hey, like I'm thinking about doing a podcast, right? And here we are. Like this is actually happening, man.
Yeah, we're finally doing it. Like, when was the first time we actually talked about doing this?
Man, it was cold out. That's what I remember. I want to say something like going back to last winter.
Well, because I was thinking about that when I was making notes today. We originally met, was it there was a lunch and learn at the Covent Garden Market in London.
Yes. Now, I think that we had passed each other at an MNG meeting, a Millennial Network meeting.
Yeah, that's right.
But then we ran into each other again at the Lunch and Learn.
Right.
And then again through Mo Mondays.
Yes. Yeah, because I was still hosting Mo Mondays London at that point.
Yes. That was a beautiful time in Mo Mondays, dude. Yeah, a beautiful time.
You're too kind, man. I mean, Jen's doing an awesome job with it.
You know what? I just have nothing but appreciation for the way that she's taken the group and what she's done with Mo Mondays and the spirit she brings to it. You know, it's like everybody who hosts this, it becomes a little bit part of their personality, as much as their personality becomes part of the Mo Mondays in London.
Yeah.
And the characters that have been at the helm of Mo Mondays, not only just as a host, but those who are speakers. We've had some incredible people step up there, you know?
Oh, yeah. And anytime when I was hosting it, my whole thing is I wanted to get as much local talent as I could. Mm-hmm. I really wanted to bring it back to local.
Yeah.
And, just really tried to do that.
Yeah. Well, London is one of those communities that's really growing, you know what I mean? And then there is a lot of these minds floating around in this city that, you know, they might just not have their channel to communicate. And if we can give them a stage or give them a microphone and let them communicate this awesome message that could really make a big impact in the city, then, you know, it's just a good idea.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, we got the chance to do that with Mo Monday. You and I spoke on the August one, right?
Yes.
Yeah, we were on the stage together.
That was night. I love that stage, man. I just love speaking up there. And you are so good. You're so good at it, man. Like it's the body language, right? Me and my wife, we're DSWs on one side of our lives, right? Which is a developmental services worker. And so we're trained to look for behavior and look for body language and stuff like that. And I can see when you're up there and you're talking, man, you're talking not just with your words, but you're talking with your whole body, man. It's good. It's so good.
You're a DSW?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. It's kind of my side. No, I'm not even going to say it's my side gig, you know? Like I went to college, I trained for it. I wanted it to be a career. But through DSW, you know, I saw I could do a little bit more, you know?
Right.
So I got another college diploma as a rec therapist. And my whole working life, I've been involved in health and wellness and fitness. Right. And I've been a lifeguard for the last 17 years. And so I just kind of smashed it all together. And then the casual athlete was born, and
kind of built up a big talent stack.
Exactly, man. Well, I'm a big proponent of a person stacking their resume, you know, and I'm not talking just about your job resume, but your life resume, you know, and just going out there and having a few things that you can say, this is an achievement. This was mine. I worked hard for it. And there's no shame in that. And it's not, I don't know, arrogant to have something like that. But the more you do and the more you educate yourself, the better chance you get at actually living the life you want to live.
Right. So I know that your tagline is the casual athlete, and that's your main business, right?
That's right. That's correct.
That's your main business.
Yeah.
Now, the whole story of how that got born is an interesting path.
Yeah.
And you've told it on stage a couple different times.
Yeah.
But, you know, maybe for the audience, just give us an idea of how did that get started again?
You know, it's always funny looking at something in retrospect, you know, and time has passed by since obviously the origin of the company, and my perspectives have changed and stuff like that. It's been a heck of a ride, especially considering the work that I've done with the casual athlete since then. But the way it got started was actually kind of a crisis in my life.
As all good stories, right?
Oh, I know. You know, Jen, who was the host of Mo Mondays there, she said that if it doesn't make you nervous or scare you, then it's probably not something that you should invest your time in.
Yeah.
And so with this was really scary because I had lost a job. I'd been working for 15 years at the time. Mm-hmm. I was going through a neurological event, and suddenly my short-term memory was severed from my recall memory, and that was causing major issues for me during that time. And even though like our society has grown a lot around mental health and stuff like that, this wasn't even that long ago that this happened, and still like the stigmas and all the stuff that comes with mental health and mental illness was very present for me.
Right.
And so I did have this job as a DSW, and I was working hard there. And again, like I just kind of found that my work with that, while I found it very rewarding, it still wasn't filling the cup.
Right.
And so with a lot of encouragement from friends and family, I kind of took my talents as a fitness instructor that I had from employment with the YMCA and Berkshire Club and other rec centers here in town and outside of town. I worked in Windsor and Woodstock and all kinds of places, man. But I kind of took that and I wanted to deliver this message about fitness for the rest of us. Now, at the same time, I had just overcome a major spinal injury that I had while I was working with my former career. I was really hard on myself for putting on a lot of weight. I was looking down the barrel of 300, and while up to that point, I was feeling pretty good about myself. I got this sudden wave of like shame and like self-loathing and stuff like that. And my first fitness journeys were all about punishing myself for this thing that I'd done wrong, right? And so, man, I didn't exercise for a long time, so I better exercise extra hard forever to make up for this sin, right? And so I started running 22 kilometers a day. I started working out twice a day, and then I was starting to engage in a mental health crisis called hypergymnasia. It's also called anorexia, gymnasia athletica. Anorexia athletica.
Anorexia athletica.
Yes.
That's a first for me. I've never heard of that one.
So it's in a bracket of eating disorders and mental health disorders that include what you eat versus how much your output is. And so it's that going to the gym too much, right? And, there's a certain physique that you can see where the body is starting to eat itself for energy for your workouts. And you can't put enough fuel back into your body. And it's not, and the focus is so physical that you forget that you have mental needs and you forget that you have spiritual needs. And all of a sudden, everything becomes about what you look like.
Right.
And so it all came to a head about 8 years ago. I was in this boot camp class punishing myself, and I was doing box jumps. So that's jumping up on a big box or a stack of steps, those workout steps, and then jumping back down. And I didn't know that my fifth vertebrae in my lumbar, so the L5 there, was fragile. And when I came down, I fractured it. And so that rung my bell really bad. I thought I was paralyzed. I couldn't move my legs. Everything just flashed before me. Everything that I thought was good, everything I knew about myself, and all this workout that I was doing that I thought was going to be healthy was the thing that tore me down more than anything else. And so while I'm going through all these things, this neurological event and this spinal injury, I'm learning how to cope with and stuff like that. And then the losing of a job and all of this kind of stuff all happened. And this is where I feel like catastrophe births goodness. It really births something that can change a life. But you have to be aware of that. It's really hard to let go of the things that you thought were really important to you. And so my letting go was actually the creation of the casual athlete. And so I created this philosophy of fitness for the rest of us, because when I was coming back into fitness and trying to re-engage, I was so hurt mentally and spiritually and physically. It was too hard to participate in fitness culture. And sometimes fitness culture can be very exclusive, you know, and there's absolutely. And I mean, you can just go to any gym where it's a box gym kind of scenario, and you can just kind of feel it. It's not everybody. But what it is there is a culture that you can feel when you're there. And so with the casual athlete, what I wanted to do was recreate this culture. And so when people talk about lifestyle change, I think that's a really good start for fitness. But getting into culture change is what's going to make the permanent solution for a person. And so instead of a person feeling like they're obligated to go to that gym, the message I'm trying to give now is like, maybe your gym is the forest that's nearby that's got awesome trails and you can hang TRX straps off of them and you can do your workout all there, right? Or maybe you're a very introverted person and you just feel safe and ready to go when you're in your home and you got all your stuff. Or maybe you are the gym person who's super social and wants to hang out with the crowd. And, you know, there's tons of different ways to approach this. When I started this, I wanted to bring this along with me. So my first clients were people that were struggling with self-image issues, and a person who had been in a terrible car accident and wanted to figure out how he could have a fitness plan. Right. And you know, the fitness world had kind of let him down. 2 trainers stole his money. You know, like what? It was, yeah, I know. This is the kind of thing that's happening to people with disabilities that try to engage fitness. And I feel like there's a mainstream idea and a mainstream view of what's happening in fitness, and it all looks very, very positive. But there's this underbelly that we got to be really aware of that includes chemicals and drugs. It includes body shaming and narcissism and all kinds of stuff. And unless we're aware of these things and actively talk out against them, they're going to remain. And so the culture change is really what the casual athlete is trying to deliver and what it was kind of born out of.
So you're really trying to make it so that it's not just... Because do you listen to Jocko Willink's podcast at all?
No, I don't.
So Jocko Willink, he's a former Navy SEAL. I discovered him
Okay, that's just cool.
Yeah, he is. He's one of those. If you look on his Instagram, he takes pictures of his watch at 4:30 in the morning when he gets up, and he talks about crushing it. And
yeah,
what's really interesting is he's got a audiobook called Psychological Warfare, and one of the things he talks about in terms of discipline, his big thing is discipline, but that it's got to come from within.
Yeah.
And that, if you listen to a self-help guru or even a Navy SEAL or anything like that, that discipline can wear off pretty quickly. And my mind immediately goes to when you're talking about making that cultural shift, you're really trying to make sure that fitness becomes something really personal for you.
Absolutely.
and sustainable, right?
Yes. I could have said it better myself. And that's exactly what it is. Like the sustainability of fitness, the whole goal here is happiness and longevity, right? And so if it creates anything other than that, you got to start questioning the value of it. And so if your exercise is so difficult that you know that unless you're in top physical condition, you can't do it.
Yeah.
What you're doing is creating a situation where you're not going to be able to keep up with that.
Yeah.
There is a time and place for competition. Don't get me wrong. I love sports, but I just love playing them. Like it doesn't really matter which one. I just want to play. But on the other hand, I hear what you're saying about this guy too. That intrinsic motivation, right? That it comes from yourself, and you don't have to draw it in from somewhere else. You know, I think that there's this accountability trap that's out there, and people are saying things like, "Oh, I need someone to keep me accountable," right? But you can keep yourself accountable. It's just learning the new culture, right? So culture involves language. It involves rituals. It involves your food. It involves who you hang out with. There's so many things that determine culture. But if you're hanging out with super positive people and everyone's talking this super positive language and it's all about being active and what did you do last week and all that kind of stuff, you don't even have to think about the big event of going for a workout. You're so busy working out with doing all the other things that you're just casually involved with that the big event of the workout isn't a punishment anymore. It's like brushing your teeth.
Well, that's the thing I found with these fitness classes, because I remember the first time I decided I'm going to go to one of these. I love group power.
Yeah, me too, man. I love group power. It's the best.
It's that just getting the barbell and loading it up and doing all that stuff. But I was so nervous the first time I did, because I thought I'm going to go into a group power class. And that first time, every jock asshole from school started to flash through my mind. I just thought, I'm going to just get absolutely reamed here. I'm going to get made fun. It's like, this is going to be a bad time. I'm not going to like this at all. And it was just the total opposite. Like we had an awesome instructor. Everybody was super positive. They were, and I remember she made a point. She pointed out throughout the class she made extra emphasis on, here's the correct form to use. If you're not quite comfortable, just keep your bar where it is. And, I remember her words were, just focus on getting through the workout. Don't worry about increasing the weight factor. Just get through the workout. And then from there, it was, the other thing I found too was everybody else in that class, because my biggest fear was going into the class was, I'm going to get judged. And when you think about what's everybody's biggest fear in any social situation, that's basically it, isn't it?
Absolutely, it is. That is the waiting for the punishment, right? This anticipation of something bad happening.
I'm going to get judged. I'm going to be named. I'm not going to be accepted socially.
Absolutely.
And when I was in that class, as I looked around, what I realized was that everybody else was so damn focused. They didn't have time to judge.
That's right, man.
And there's these little old ladies that are, they've got maybe 20 pounds on the bar, but they're giving it.
Absolutely.
They're doing it.
I cut my teeth as a fitness instructor in Aquafit. And let me tell you about little old ladies, man. They've gone through the workout of life. Right? They've gone through kids and grandkids and careers and husbands and you name it. They've gone through this workout, right? And so, and they're still coming out and lifting things up and putting them down because they're motivated and they know it's good for them. We have a lot to learn from the eldest people in our classes, for sure. But I mean, like this exclusive fitness culture that exists makes people feel when they come in that oh my God, I don't belong here. I'm not in this culture. Right? I don't know this language that they're talking yet, right? And I don't understand this ritual we're just about to go through. Because if you look at ritualistic behavior and you look at a fitness routine, the only thing that's different is ideology.
Really.
And so
I never thought of it that way.
When we start thinking of it as a culture, we start to see the different ways people are interacting and who are the leaders within this culture, and who are the players within this culture and stuff like that.
Right.
And then when you can find your identity within a culture, it becomes intrinsic. Right, you just want to be there. It's gym. Some people call it church. Right? That's where they go. But some people I know a ton of people who meditate when they're exercising because you get so into your zone. Right, it is so personal. And my experience as a fitness instructor has always been like, people are nervous when they first come in, and then if you're a good instructor, they feel right at home when they're walking out the door, and they start to know names and they become like a neighbor type figure, I guess.
I got that realization a week or two ago when there was a couple classes I had to miss just because of some conferences going on. And a couple folks from the class were like, "Hey, we didn't see you at the Monday class." I went, "Oh, wow, you remember me. That's kind of cool." And you start to get to know these people, and you really do feel that sense of community.
For sure, man. It's like that citizenship within that culture, right? And they know you now. They're asking for you to be there. That feeling of belonging, that's the real motivation, man. When we're looking at mainstream media and stuff like that, and the kinds of bombardment we get, and it's all about, wear these shoes and look this way and play this sport and, all this kind of stuff. It really removes that idea that you can be motivated just from someone saying, "Hey, Elias, we missed you last week. Are you coming back?" Stuff like that. That's where the accountability lives right there,
Well, I mean, for me, some of the accountability just comes from, I got tired of being that guy that said, because I said for the longest time, "Oh, I've got no upper body strength." Mm-hmm. Like after I lost the whole ton of weight, because I went from 250 to 165, and I've basically been that since.
Elias, I can so relate to that, man. First of all, what a journey that must have been for you, man.
Dude, I didn't even mean to lose it. That's the craziest part about that, is everybody goes, did you set out to lose all that weight? No, I totally didn't. Mm-hmm. The whole story behind that one is I was just sitting back at home one night. This was like February 2009. If I got my timelines right. Yeah, it was around that time. And I was just sitting back at home one night and looking at my video games, and I was kind of bored. I just had a day at work. This is my second co-op term. I think, oh man, I can do better than this. And I look at one game that's on my shelf, and it's Dance Dance Revolution Supernova 2.
Nice.
It was, when I finished first year of Waterloo, I bought myself a used PS2 and DDR Supernova 2 because that was just about all I had left from OSAP. Because that's what you do, right?
Responsible spending. Yeah.
Responsible spending. Let's go to EB Games and buy a PS2.
Yeah.
You got $300 left in the bank, and the PS2 is like $150. So.
Oh, and I bet you got your $150 worth out of that PS2.
Dude, I still have that PS2.
Right?
So I got the game out and hooked it up and started to play it, and I could just barely do the basic tracks.
Yeah.
But I stuck with it, and I was like, oh, this is actually kind of fun. I like the music here. And I started to, work through it and worked my way up to the point where I could do the really introductory songs. So all the songs in DDR are rated on a foot scale of 1 to 10.
Yeah.
1's easiest, 10 is maximal. I could, get through the 1s and get a decent score, and then I finally had the guts to do a 2, and that was tough. And then finally I did a basic one, a 3-footer, and that was tough. But I was really starting to enjoy it. And then right around that time of January, February, as I was doing DDR, I just randomly decided to restart my diet.
Just made the decision, I'm ready for this, and you went for it.
I'd restarted the diet. And when I talk about restarting it, I mean like day 1, toast with peanut butter.
Okay.
Like that was it. And then the next day I added in eggs.
Okay.
I ditched pop, I ditched all that stuff, and just started to gradually feel a little bit better each time.
Yeah.
And then I just kept doing DDR, getting a little bit better at it, doing it usually about an hour a day.
I bet you're still really good at it, dude.
The footwork is one thing. So I did a group, Group Blast the other day.
Yeah.
You know the one move where you're basically, you hop up onto the step real quick and then hop back onto the floor? And, I'm watching as everybody else, I can see everybody else is kind of struggling with that. And I'm going like, I'm able to keep up and go faster than the instructor. And I'm like, this is DDR legs, man.
Yeah.
I can do this.
It's funny how these little skills carry over to other areas of your life.
Oh,
right?
I know.
When a person engages in something they really actually like, this is the rec therapist of you coming out here, right? And engages in that activity. So let's say it's DDR, right?
Yep.
And that was 2009, right?
2009, yeah.
And so here we are in 2018. It's still relevant to you because you can see how that skill transfers over to your fitness class.
Yes.
Right. This is why encouraging anybody to do any activity they enjoy, as long as it's like verifiably not harmful, they should definitely do it,
I wouldn't say heroin's a good idea.
No, avoid heroin. That's good life advice.
Not good life fitness, but just good in life.
Yes, good in life.
Yeah. That way we don't get sued.
Yeah. Thanks, good life.
Yeah, really. No, but that's a key point too. When I started doing DDR, that was the first time that I found exercise that I went, wow, I'm exercising and I enjoy it.
Yeah, that's a key point in anyone's fitness journey, I think, is actually acknowledging with yourself when you like something.
Yeah.
And just establishing it that it doesn't have to be the be all and the end all. It's just, I found something. A go-to, just a home base.
Yeah.
If there's nothing else, if I hate every other exercise, at least I could just DDR my butt to fitness, right?
What was the first exercise that you ever did where you went, wow, this is awesome. I want to do more of this?
Running.
Really?
Yeah. But it's sad, the story.
Was it from a bear or something?
No, I was... like I said, I was in rough shape once upon a time, and my biggest problem was that I didn't have a problem with it until I had a big problem with it.
Right.
And so I went from hypergymnastic to absolutely no exercise to back to hypergymnastic and all over the place, right? And so this was the first time actually in a healthy way confronting exercise. So keeping in mind, I've run huge distances and all kinds of stuff up to this point. And I was so out of shape. I remember going out of my apartment and I decided I was going to do something kind of tough. And I put on, now at this point, it had been years since I had a proper workout. I'll be honest about that. And I hesitate to say ashamed of it, but a little,
Now, what year are we talking here?
2008.
Okay.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
So around the same time.
Right. Yeah. And so I threw in a backpack and put in my weights into it, and I just wanted to do a weighted run, and I was going to run 1 kilometer. That's what I was going to do.
Right.
And so I get out the door and I start running. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling badass because I'm running with this backpack and, and meanwhile, it's like a school bag. It's not like an army sack or anything like that. It's just a school bag with weights in it. I'm looking like a schmuck. It was like March. And so there was still like some snow and slush all over the place. Remember, my feet were wet and cold and I couldn't even make it halfway before
wow.
Now halfway, remember, is 1 kilometer. So I couldn't even make it 500 meters of my run before I had to stop and walk. And I didn't even stop and walk and run again. I just walked the rest of the way. And and it was this thing where I came into my house and it was a realization that I can do so much better than this. I've seen myself do better than this, but I decided that I didn't want to be ashamed of it this time. And so I just kind of kept doing, I'd lost the backpack, but I kept doing this thing where it's like, okay, I'm going to come home from work. I'm going to go out my door. I'm going to run to that stop sign. I'm going to get back. It took me no time to do. And I could just get it out of the way. And then over time, I just started running longer distances. And I started to run to work. And so I was working at the Center Branch YMCA at the time.
Yeah.
And I would throw my lifeguard pin and my whistle and all that stuff in a backpack, a lot lighter than it was with weights and stuff like that. And I would run my butt to work. And it was a 5K. And so,
wow.
Yeah. But this time it didn't hurt like it did running 11K to work when I was younger and I was going to University of Windsor, and I knew I wasn't going to be exhausted like I was after working all day and then having to run 11 kilometers back to my house, and my body was really starting to show bad signs of wear and tear. And when you're in your like early mid 20s, you shouldn't be showing bad signs of wear and tear. And now in my 30s, and now that I've actually gotten some proper education in fitness and stuff like that, I can see a lot of the problems that I had when I was younger. Yeah, man.
Like what kinds of problems, if I can ask?
Yeah. Okay. Hip problems for sure.
Oh, really?
Because my running technique was off. I wasn't paying any attention to it because the only thing that I was worried about was running.
Right.
One foot in front of the other. And so I've had some long-term issues with the hips because of that issue.
Right.
My lower back, what I was doing, all of those runs that I was doing before that fracture came, I had lit a fuse. And it was a really long fuse, but it was only a matter of time before that bomb went off. And that bomb went off in a fitness class, right? And so that was a major player for it, for sure.
Because whenever I think about running, I just think, well, isn't it just a matter of putting shoes on and going out the door? But I guess there's much more to it than that.
Oh man, yes. And that's something that everybody who's thinking about running really needs to know. Is that, first of all, running 5K is difficult, right? Most of the world thinks running 1K is a tough run because not a lot of people have actually confronted a distance run unless you're a kid in high school or whatever, right? But we get into our adult years and we get focused on other things.
Right.
So asking somebody to run 1 kilometer is actually like, you'll get a sweat going in 1 kilometer. Asking someone to run 5 kilometers, now you're into a niche population.
Yeah.
Right. But the cool thing about that is as soon as you do it, you're in that population. You only have to do it once. A marathon runner only has to run 1 marathon.
Right. True.
And we tend to glorify it and stuff like that. But when people are first getting started, it's all about putting your shoes on, stretching out, breathe the whole time. A lot of people will push themselves so hard that they run out of breath. The brain switches from a feeling of reward to a feeling of punishment. And in psychology, we know if you punish somebody, it's going to deter them from doing it again.
Yeah.
And so people need to be very aware of the fact that they're not punishing themselves with exercise.
Right.
Yeah.
So you had mentioned when you were running that had caused some issues in terms of gait and your hips and whatnot. So that was the running led to, you mentioned the fuse, it led to that the fracture of your L5?
In a sense, yeah.
Right.
Because of my inattention to the different gaits you should use and the different positions you can hold your arms in and things like that.
Wow.
Watching out for the alignment of your spine as you're running and really considering you're moving your skeleton instead of moving your muscles or moving your skin forward or just moving your eyes forward. You're moving your skeleton forward.
Right.
And so when you step, you got to learn how to be careful with your skeleton. I mean, it's very strong, but I mean, time will deteriorate anything. And when you're running, you're accelerating that. It's an impact exercise. Now it's super good for your heart, so good for your heart and so good for your lungs and so good for your spirit. There's so many benefits. It's easy to kind of get locked down into what's good or what's bad about a exercise.
Right.
I think you got to just love it or not.
Right. I've heard differing opinions on what it's like for your knees. Like, has running done anything to your knees over long term?
My knees feel good. I'm 35. I've been running for 10 years. I've run races, but I really moderate my runs now. I do community runs. I live in Strathroy, and so we do a 5K run. But the whole thing is like if you got to power walk a little bit, or if you're the type that this is your first time confronting a 5K, that you can do so without fear or without judgment or anything like that. And so that's where I do my running now. And because I'm watching myself and I'm so careful, and that I take the time to really run with beginners, I'm never pushing myself to the point where I'm deteriorating.
Right.
I think you're onto something, though, with your thinking here. And it's something that people that are coming to fitness really need to understand is this difference between functional fitness and performance fitness.
Right.
Functional fitness is it's all the fitness you need for what you do in your life. Or if you wanted to do something crazy, you'd have the fitness to do something like that. Like you have the core strength to go hang gliding, let's say, or water skiing. Performance fitness, though, means it's almost getting into a job, right? You have to work out for a very certain reason. And that looks so sexy, man. Like it's in the magazines and it's on TV and it's on the internet. It is everywhere. That image of performance fitness. Functional fitness isn't as sexy, it's just like it's just Joe Blow stuff, right? But that's the stuff that makes sure people live for a very long time, right?
Right.
If we look at the Canadian farmers and the kind of lifestyle they live, especially if we're going back into the early 20th century, we start to see that they were just working all the time, but they were disease-free. They were all very large, very strong people, and they had a reputation for longevity.
Right.
And the reason why was because they were doing everyday fitness every day.
Right. Gee, doesn't that make sense?
I know. It seems common sense when it's phrased in this way, right? But this is where we got to look past all that pretty packaging and on the posters and the magazine covers,
right? And the supplements.
Well, yes. Oh, yes.
Yeah, you look thrilled about the mention of supplements.
Supplements, there's science behind them, okay? They definitely work, okay?
Yeah.
It's just, if you're not a performance athlete, I can't really see a reason for them. Besides, if you have a natural shortage on something, or you're going through a training regimen and you want to bump it up a little bit, okay, I can see reasons, but you got to be so specific with your reasons. If you just start taking supplements because your neighbor's friend's girlfriend said that this is healthy for your hair, you got to do more research.
Right.
There's a huge amount of content on supplements out there right now, and it's an ocean. And unless you know how to swim in that ocean, it'll just swallow you up, and all the things that'll help you lose fat and change your life and make you smarter and all this stuff. That's all extrinsic. It's all coming from the outside. So much of it you got to develop from the inside.
Right. And I suppose if you're just doing 20-minute workouts every couple of days, you probably don't need supplements.
Probably not, But, if you get to the point where you're extra motivated, think about it. But talk to a professional. Talk to a professional. That is so important. So many fitness places now have somebody that you can speak to about these things. They'll have a consultation available for you anytime. You just make the appointment, you talk to them about supplements. A lot of supplement stores, though, are wise to the fact that a lot of their customers aren't educated. And some have taken the step forward to purposely educate their clients. And so an educated client is a good client.
Right.
And so if you can educate them and contribute in that way, and then use your expertise to help guide them through fitness and supplements, awesome. Go for it. My big gripe with it is people don't take the time to understand what they're taking.
Yeah. And I suppose that's a good fitness place too would also direct people away from supplements if it's not for them.
Absolutely. There's always going to be someone who's in it for the money.
Yeah.
And you just got to keep your eyes open for that, right? Most people who are in the health and wellness industry are there not to make money, but to kind of improve their community or improve society in some way. So most people can be trusted.
Right.
Unfortunately, there's always going to be people that abuse the system, or again, they're just in it for the money. And so it's up to the consumer to be wise about their choices and look around,
Yeah, true. So that's why they should hire you.
You know what? It's not a bad idea. I'm pretty good at what I do.
Yeah, you're looking pretty well. So I'd say that's a pretty good choice.
Yeah.
I mean, speaking of, I was looking at we were talking about this before we started recording. You've been working with a lot of people. And you even made the comment you felt like you're part of people's viral videos before they've gone viral. Yeah. Like you're working with, we've got Tiff, the ukulele. She's going to, I think she's coming on the podcast in a few weeks.
She's going to have such awesome input for you, man.
Oh, yeah?
So personal training, it's intimate, right? And yeah, I said the intimate word, right? But I mean, what I mean by that is it's super personal, right? Yeah. And you get to know somebody very quickly. And so what I've learned about Tiff is like okay, I saw her speak at Mo Mondays. She was totally inspiring and rocks on the ukulele.
Doesn't she?
I know. But when we get down and we're working out, and I'm seeing a different side of the ukulele, right? And I see struggle and I see strength and I see inspiration and I see the other side too, like, oh, I don't know if I can do it, futility, right? When I think about her on this podcast and just the stuff that her and I have talked about, there's going to be intimacy here too. Yeah. Right. Where you're going to be hearing all these awesome stories that she has to share, and she can tell a story, man. Like she's good.
Yeah. All right. Can.
I could just toot that girl's horn all day, man.
And man, can she play the ukulele?
Yeah, she can. Yeah, she can.
She's the ukulele for very good reason.
Yeah. So we're both from like the Strathroy community, right? And so it's really cool to kind of network and work out with entrepreneurs from the small towns that are kind of coming from outside of the London community,
Strathroy's not that far from London these days when you think about it.
Man, London's getting huge, man. I can get from Strathroy to London 20 minutes. Nothing.
Yeah, that's not far.
No.
I mean, 20 years ago, London was just this pokey little town, but man. I think the last census was like 500,000.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
When I lived in London, I didn't realize how encapsulating London can be, though. You can get really into city syndrome, right? And everything you need is in this city. Your friends, your family are nearby, all this stuff, and you get encapsulated. You're in the dome, right? Yeah. And every once in a while, you get outside, you might go on a vacation, you might go to Toronto or something like that. But, right. Very much we kind of get into like the city culture of London. And now that I've kind of lived outside of it, but lived inside of it for the 10 years previous, right? It's kind of interesting seeing the comparison between the two and the people who I work with out of town and the people who I work with in town.
Right.
And the people in town, there is this awesome, amazing tech community here. And I didn't know, man. I'm in my little jock brain here, like fitness for the rest of us, right? And then someone's like, oh yeah, well, I got this VR plan that reads your brain waves and, it understands your heartbeat and your respirations.
You're talking about Daniel Carlos?
Yes, I'm talking about Daniel Carlos. What a phenomenal guy. I'm like preaching this guy's name all over the countryside, man. I love this guy.
He is super smart.
I've never been intimidated by someone's intellect until I met Dan.
Yeah.
Now, it's not like he presents it in an intimidating way. It's just he exudes intellect and academia. And it's in his language and it's in his culture. And so working with him, you're working with something special.
Yeah.
Ben Switzer, too. Have you met him?
Yes, I think so.
So he's with True Focus and Motivate Games.
Yep.
And he's a neurohacker, man. Like this guy has figured out how to use techniques with the brain to rewire it using principles in neuroplasticity and neurology to create situations that improve people's, I think recently I saw he did an experiment with somebody. And
was that with
Peter?
Experiment?
Yes, Peter. Yeah. And I want to say Ben's IQ went up by 15% or something. Using Ben's method, he not only improved his spatial awareness and memory, short term and long term, everything all the way up because of this neurohacking procedure he does. It's incredible. And so Ben and I are working together to figure out how we can get virtual reality neurohacking and this fitness for the rest of us culture change all together into one thing.
Oh, wow.
And so, like,
That was that because I saw that post on Facebook about you and VR and Daniel Carlos and Ben. So tell me more about that.
Without the guys here, I got to be very careful because this information and this thing that we're creating here is so cutting edge.
Yeah.
But what I will say is that what we're going to do is create a conduit for people that have disabilities or people who are, just looking for a new way to approach their life with virtual reality. And so we're going past this whole game idea of virtual reality, the whole entertainment. We're taking the gloss and the glamour away from this, and we're talking about what life can be for a person who's, let's say, living an extremely busy life, and you need something that is going to calm your brainwaves enough so you can go to bed without having an anxiety attack, right? Or if you're the type of person who's dealing with depression, anxiety, stuff like that, you can use virtual reality to help curb the intensity of those kinds of situations. I've been working in virtual reality with some very incredible people, man. And one person I really want to mention, I'm sorry if I'm monopolizing too much time here.
No, go for it.
Is David Sutherland. And so you've never met David before, but I've talked about him a lot on the Casual Athlete page because he's a very interesting person. And he's a 1 in 2 million chance person. And the disability he's coping with is one of the rarest in the world. And I can't get too much into the details because I don't want to infringe on confidentiality or something like that. But I know David very well and he knows me, and I know that he'll know that I'm doing this for the right reasons. But basically what it does is it makes him completely and totally immobile. And when I say immobile, I mean over time it gets worse. And there's a really sad way to tell this story.
Right.
He's also lived 10 years longer than the life expectancy for somebody with his disease. He's also the oldest person alive with this disease.
So he's playing with house money.
Oh
now.
Yeah, he is.
Oh
yeah, this guy is a literal miracle of science when you consider his entire situation.
Right.
And so when I met him, I was challenged with the idea of give him a fitness plan, Greg. And so like his life, as far as I knew up to that point, he did try his best to get out and around. I mean, he's on kind of a big bed all the time, so it's hard for him to get anywhere. Right. And so he watches a ton of TV and watches outside the window a lot. And he was just kind of trapped in this prison of his body. And so I started digging into virtual reality and started introducing him to different scenarios. And so we were concerned at first because we thought if we take somebody with an intellectual disability and we have them in the reality that we're used to, and suddenly we present them with a totally new virtual environment, it might be a shock. But what we found, so we picked a very calm one to start with, and we found that he was very accepting of it, and he seemed very excited. As we put him through different experiences, we went to jogging and mountain biking and F1 racing and bungee jumping, and then we did. Do you remember that Stratos jump that Red Bull sponsored a few years back?
Oh yeah.
So Felix Baumgartner goes up there, highest skydive ever. Does it with the GoPro 5, and he said something so poignant when he was on that platform just before he jumped, and he said, sometimes you have to be up really high to understand how small you are. And then David got so excited when he heard that, and it sent chills up my spine hearing this, because I could see I had done a screen mirroring thing where I could see what David was seeing on his TV. And then David did this skydive, the highest skydive ever. And he was first person in the experience with headphones on. And so his sense of vision and his sense of hearing was completely enveloped. And
so he was totally immersed.
That's exactly right. And then that's when I knew that we were on to something very special with what we can do with virtual reality for people in London that goes outside of entertainment and gaming.
That's huge.
Huger than huge, man. It's changing my life, watching his life change,
Right.
The ripple effect of this kind of endeavor, I think is just positive for everybody.
No kidding.
Yeah.
And just because that's been my biggest beef with virtual reality up to this point. Like I remember I got one of the really early Oculus Rift headsets. I was like, this is cute. This is kind of neat. But, somebody's got to put this to use aside from, Half-Life 2.
Yeah.
Or aside from some dicky little game where you pick something up and put it over here.
Yeah. Like that's exercising only the most superficial potential of that technology.
Do you remember the Kinect? The Microsoft Kinect when that first came out? It was the camera that you put in front of the Xbox.
Yes.
Yeah. Remember that?
Yes, I do.
I remember I experimented with that a whole bunch. And like if you go back, there was a period where the Kinect was just like, oh my God, it's going to be this revolutionary thing. And then within a year, they were at Valley Village. And nobody did anything with them because it was like once you got past the really superficial games that you could do with it, they all boiled down to a little bit of skeletal recognition and then nothing happened.
Yeah. I think that was a technology that was a bit before its time. Like there wasn't the platform yet to really make that useful. And the technology, the hardware wasn't at the capacity it needed to be. And neither was the software. It's like on every angle of that, it was just shortchanged.
Yeah. The hardware sucked really.
Yeah.
Like the cameras in the 360 version of the Kinect, I think it was like 640 by 480 and
it's useless,
Oh yeah, just garbage. The fact it worked at all is kind of incredible when you think about it.
It is.
But yeah, it was just kind of a garbage thing.
Yeah. I think with virtual reality, especially like I my first set was this like $11 pair that was bought from Princess Auto. So like when I encountered virtual reality for the first time, I was really interested. I always thinking about access, right? And so what is like the cheapest access point for virtual reality? So it was my phone and this $10 set that I just kind of put together and I was in virtual reality. Now I really took the time though to explore music videos, which is just virtual reality will revolutionize music videos. Absolutely. It's unbelievable how immersed you become in that song. It's incredible, dude. There's this really cool experience called Jam Jam, and it's these LA indie artists doing a jam session. And it's this kind of just like a party that happens once a month or twice a month, and it just all these artists come and they jam. And so all the lyrics you hear are just completely improv, and all the instruments are all just a jam session. And you're standing right in the middle of it. And for me, like I've had really tough days and I just go to Jam Jam and all of a sudden I'm just rocking out and there's a sweet funk beat going on. And, like it just really changes your mindset. It literally changes brainwaves, even at the most basic access point for virtual reality. And so it can be kind of cutesy if you get swept up into the mainstream of what's happening with virtual reality, because it's all these little games that are just riding trends and stuff like the Walking Dead augmented reality game and, all that kind of stuff. Instead, if you're using it for neurohacking purposes, you're literally unlocking like some of the deepest potential your brain has.
Has there been a lot of research on the neurohacking side of VR?
Okay, that's Ben Switzer's area.
Ben Switzer?
Yeah, so you got to reach out to him.
Okay.
But from what I understand about neurohacking and neurology and what they're learning from that kind of stuff is that this is an exploding body of science.
Right.
Because it's as relevant to the discoveries that they've made are as relevant to the human brain as discoveries as Stephen Hawking made about the universe. Like we're really understanding stuff that's happening in our brain and how it communicates and what it can do. And using certain techniques, we can literally unlock a whole new level of human intellect and human potential. But it requires the person to be very mindful of exactly what they're doing. But Peter of the Hungarian experiment has gone through this battery, man, and he's got real life example for you. So if you want to talk to somebody about this, you got to talk to that guy because he's literally been through it.
I've been wanting to talk with him for a long time.
Yeah. And then when Dan's on the show, he's going to have a lot of awesome input on that too.
Wow.
And this is why, like, when you're talking about the interesting people that I've met, And when I told you earlier today, like it's kind of another day at work for me. I'm just doing my fitness thing, right?
Right.
And then I'm countering like a neurohacker and a VR programmer and a media influencer and all these interesting people.
Isn't it so much fun though?
Oh my God, this is what I was born for.
Yeah.
Like I definitely don't have anything against somebody who's working their job because they need a job and this is how they're paying the bills.
Sure.
But if a person ever gets the opportunity for entrepreneurship, you gotta seize it. You gotta seize it.
Yeah.
This is the life, man. I'm meeting all these interesting people. I'm eating delicious food everywhere. I'm meeting like-minded people. I'm meeting people who are very open-minded to concepts that are really new.
Right.
I'm meeting inventors. Like this is where people can really grow and continue to educate themselves in a super organic way.
Right.
But if you get trapped in your career, if you get trapped in like your routine, you miss out on these awesome people and these awesome opportunities.
Yeah. No, I get that one. That's the thing is when I first started as an entrepreneur, I did not think my life was going to go on this path. Like I was like, in high school, I had my entire life mapped out. I was going to go to University of Western Ontario, get my computer science degree, then I'm going to get my teaching degree, and then I'm going to teach high school. I wanted to teach high school computer science. And from an early age, I always knew I wanted to teach. That was going to be my thing. And then events happened in life and things got derailed, and I discovered that programming was something I was good at. And I went, okay, I can use this to pay the bills. This could be kind of cool. And then I never intended in the beginning to just sort of go, okay, I'm going to be an entrepreneur. But I just sort of fell into it by default. Like the one choice that really made it for me was I remember my final work term. I said, you know what? I want to work from home. That was my goal. I wanted to find a job where I could work from home. And like after a whole bunch of it, my first co-op interview. So my final term, by the way, if there's any co-op students listening, just because you can submit 50 job applications doesn't mean you should. I did. I submitted 50 job applications. I had 30 interviews and I had 15 offers. It was kind of crazy.
Were you overwhelmed?
Well, considering that I had to do all those interviews in a span of 4 weeks, and at the end of each of those weeks, I had a midterm.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, what fun that was.
Oh yeah.
Dashing from interview to interview and just figuring out, okay, I got to do homework and a paper and a presentation, and then I got to dash to this interview. And it was nuts.
Student life is tough, man.
Oh my God.
So tough. I remember it. It wasn't even that long ago for me, I guess, but like when I was in university, that's a decade ago.
Yeah.
And then I went to college a couple times. But what I've learned from doing all that is that when you're going to school and working and trying to take care of your partner and your friends and everything else, it's really tough. Plus the jobs and everything like that.
Yeah.
And then you've also got a generation of people who tend to hate you for being for being young and for having tools or for not having to suffer, fire and brimstone to get to post-secondary education or whatever.
Yeah.
Right? There's a stigma for young people going to school and trying to work.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I really don't get it. But
how the hell did we do it?
I think it was a lot of poverty. Yeah. It seems to be like a trend, the poverty. I think that falling asleep in books was a good thing that I did because at least when I fell asleep, I was thinking about school. And when I woke up, I was thinking about it too.
Right.
I think it's just, it turns into a battle of willpower, I guess.
Yeah, I suppose. Did you ever do that thing where you pull an all-nighter and then, to hand in an assignment and then you think to yourself, it's the next morning, it's like 8:30 and you've got a 10 o'clock class and you think to yourself, I'm good. I'm going to go to this class.
Yeah.
and you have not slept yet.
Not good.
No.
Not good.
Do you remember anything that happened in those classes at all?
Never, man, never. I got wise in my last year and started setting a recorder. So if I fell asleep, I would.
That's
so
smart.
not smart because I didn't sleep. That would have been smart. But a solution, I guess.
Oh my God. And another tip to anyone who's studying, if there's a group project, for God's sakes, do it in a group.
Yeah.
Don't solo that crap.
No, don't. I know there's a good person that's going to be listening to this that's, got a group project going on and they're taking on the entire weight of the project because their friends or their group wants to drink or wants to have fun instead. Kudos to you. You're the person that's going to be the supervisor or manager or owner of those individuals who don't want to work out. Yeah.
Well, I mean, the other part too is you got to learn how to work with people and motivate other people too.
Yes, absolutely.
Like that was, if there's one thing I kind of wish I could go back and correct, I don't want to call it a regret, but I definitely made the mistake in, I want to say third year. I had a group project and I just looked at the rest of my group and went, oh my God, these people are dead weight. I don't want to work with these. And so I went to the professor and I said, can I do this project alone? And he said, well, if you really want to, you can. Mm-hmm. And I said, well, how hard can it be? So I did. And as it turned out, it was a ton of work. Oh, God. Never again.
Not worth it.
No. Oh, hell no.
No. There's this workhorse syndrome, man. There's people out there who they just don't want it to fall down, right?
Yeah.
And we need those people. They're strong leaders.
Yeah.
But when they're put in the wrong set of circumstances, that's like torture for them. Like they're working 4 times as hard as they need to for the same amount of credit as one person gets.
Yeah.
And there's kind of a white knight thing, like this is the right thing to do, and I'm going to do it, right? But ultimately, you got to really think about, I guess, goals, right?
Yeah.
And when we're young, we don't think about that. Not the way we're talking about it right now,
Well, we've had the experience.
Exactly. And that's why we got to let it go when some young people are kind of going off on certain things too. We don't have their experience. We have our experience, right? And it might be more experience than them, but they're figuring it out.
Yeah.
Right?
And I mean, I wouldn't have learned all those lessons had I not made all those mistakes too.
Yeah.
And I am thankful for having gone through those situations.
Success requires failure.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
You literally can't get it unless you failed. And if someone just is continually getting success without ever having failure, I have questions about how they're managing that,
Well, I think at that point you've just set life too easy.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Because I remember being in jobs. I remember being in one particular co-op job where I was definitely the smartest programmer in the room.
Yeah.
And I went, and they were offering me a position after I was all done. And I thought it was a pretty safe position. Let's put it that way. It would have been the gravy boat. Yeah. And I would have been set for life. It wouldn't have been like the pay would have been consistent. There wouldn't have been that much room for career growth.
Yeah.
But I remember even thinking back at that time, just like, nah, this is not right.
Yeah.
Like I can't, how am I in 4th year and I'm the smartest person in the room?
That's instinct, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's something that people need to kind of get into.
Yeah.
A lot of people say listen to your gut, right? That's your instinct. That's something that's coming from your subconscious. That's saying something's wrong here, right? And sometimes it presents as a conscious thought as like, why am I at this level of education and I'm looking around and seeing where everything is, where everyone else is at their education and their ability? Why do I feel out of place even though my credentials and my ability is either at or exceeding those around me, right?
Yeah.
It's a trigger in the brain. It's a danger thing. Right?
Yeah.
Right. And so a lot of people will just, no, I'm not going to be a whiner, or I'm going to be a good worker and just keep my head down and do my job. Right. Yeah. For those who are feeling out of place like that, what you're doing is you're literally denying your nature.
Yeah.
And by denying your nature, it leads to repression and all kinds of stuff that's really unhealthy for mental health. And I think that it leads to a belief that people should suffer at work.
Yeah.
I hear this thing that, no one likes going to work. I freaking love going to work.
Yeah.
I love going to work. Like, I know when I go, I'm doing something valuable. For those, if you can't answer that question, or your answer is this is not valuable,
Yep.
then what are you doing? What are you doing? You're gonna live your life without happiness?
Or your answer is,
Yeah. Soul death.
Like
That's what it sounds like.
Like, I get that there's days where there's stuff that you don't want to do. Like, I'm doing year end for the business right now. I don't want to do it.
No.
But like 95% of the stuff that I do, I'm damn excited about. 5%, okay, doesn't excite me, or stuff that I don't want to do. But it's like, I'm glad that the majority of the time I'm working on stuff that's exciting.
Yeah, it's part of a broader picture.
Yeah.
And an acceptance that nothing is pure.
Yeah.
Right? Like, everything's going to come with a cost. Like,
Sure.
you can't, even entrepreneurship, like, we're talking big talk about entrepreneurship, but like, if someone does choose that, you're giving up everything.
Oh, yeah.
You're giving up time and family and money and
Yeah.
money.
Yeah.
And, you might be giving up a job. You might be giving up your security,
Yep.
stuff like that. But knowing that despite all these things that are in the cons column,
Yep.
the benefits of it are just going to be so much more. ROI, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, like, just some of the life experiences I've had in total of just, there's shit that I've done. Oops. There's, oh, well, it was going to happen soon.
Yeah, it's bound to happen.
There's experiences I've had that money just simply can't buy.
Yeah.
Like, and the flexibility. Like, that was the one thing I was having a conversation with my mentor about, was the flexibility that we have in our schedules.
Yeah.
It can be a blessing and a curse sometimes. But I think back, like, last year. Do you remember Tracy Schmidt on Stop Tracy
Yes.
Schmidt?
How could I forget her?
Yeah.
Wow.
She is awesome.
Yes,
I mean,
she
she's
is.
doing 1,000,001 things at the same time.
Yeah.
But I remember last year, 2017, just like right in the middle of July, Michelle, host of Mo Mondays Toronto, and the guy who started Mo Mondays, he had a speaker workshop on humor. And I just, like, at the last minute, I had the opportunity to go to it. And I'm just like, I've got 1,000,001 things to do, but screw it, let's go. So I just bought a train ticket like the night before, went up, and by coincidence, Tracy was at that workshop. And I would not have ordinarily met her had I not gone to the workshop. And then it started this awesome friendship. And she came and spoke in London, she did a book launch here in London too. Like, it's just crazy, some of this. And that was like, if I was working just your typical 9 to 5, like, I would have had to ask for that day off and hope that my boss would have said yes or approved it, or, and I've only got so many days I can take.
Yeah. I've always kind of had a bit of an issue with that kind of stuff of another person, or even a company. It's not even a person.
Yeah.
Telling you how many days you're allowed to be sick, and telling you how many days you're allowed to vacation.
Yeah.
And things like that. I'm not saying it's a bad thing to offer these things. They have to manage it somehow. I get
sure.
it. But what I found it to be, when I was in it, I felt captive.
Yeah.
And when I was out of it, I felt liberated. And so that's just my personal experience with it. But I think for a lot of people, if they were willing to take the step, it isn't for everybody though.
No. Oh, hell no, it's not.
And I don't want to paint it like, just quit your job and start a business. This is going to be great. It's very difficult.
Yeah. Especially, you know what? That's something I get real pissed off sometimes, because that's something that some of these entrepreneurial types sometimes gloss over, is that beginning part where you're just consistently eating shit.
Oh yeah.
And you have to prove yourself.
Absolutely. And it takes years.
Yeah.
It's not like you get out the gate and you're the new kid in town and you're the sharpshooter and everyone's going to notice you and stuff like that. It doesn't work like that. It's blood, sweat, and tears, and it's grinding it at work every day.
Yeah.
And again, like
And surviving.
Yeah, that survival is a big one too. Doubt is another one too.
Yeah.
When you start doubting yourself and doubting your process, right? When the failures start racking up,
Yes.
especially in a row,
Yeah.
you start to really question if you made the right choice. You start thinking about going back to the old job or whatever,
Yeah.
right?
Or you go, or it's like, oh, maybe I need to go back to school and get more, whatever.
Absolutely, man.
Because like school does not. The one thing I found with Waterloo, I loved Waterloo. By the way, it's like as a Waterloo grad, love it. I got nothing but good things to say about it. They have a very entrepreneurial program. There is a big focus on entrepreneurs. I mean, that's where Research in Motion started, and Google and Microsoft and all those guys are constantly hiring people. And there's a million stories about people dropping out of Waterloo to go start a business. And by the way, I think this is still the case. Other universities need to get a clue when it comes to intellectual property. Waterloo does not lay claim to IP that students develop. Other universities do.
It's very ethical.
Yeah, and that was a big innovative thing when Waterloo decided to do that. And I think you want to support entrepreneurship, put your money where your mouth is, places like Western and other places.
Absolutely. That's a leadership decision, right?
Yeah.
There.
Yeah, that's gutsy. But even with all that experience and exposure to entrepreneurs, when I got out of university, I realized just how little I actually knew about. Like, I knew the technical sides to running a business. Like, okay, here's the ledger I need to keep. Here's the bookkeeping stuff I need to do. Mm-hmm. Here's kind of the administrative tasks. But going out there and selling? Oh, holy crap. What's your product offering? It's so much easier when you're doing it as a project in university, but then you apply it to your life and you realize, oh crap, the stakes are kind of high.
Yeah.
Like, if I get this right, I'm going to be able to eat.
Yeah. Boy, I remember I crunched the books after my first year of business, and like all the money I spent and all the money I made, and you see it all, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes it just makes you want to cry when you're looking at how much you've spent.
Oh yeah.
And then you see the return. It's okay. My first year, I turned over $4 of profit.
Woo!
Woohoo! And I was so happy that I wasn't in debt.
Yeah.
I actually profited on my business in the first year I had it running. I figured that put me well ahead of a lot of other businesses that have failed in the same year.
Oh, hell yeah.
But that's not to say the business person failed.
Right.
It's just that idea didn't work. Right?
Yeah.
I think that anybody who's had a failed business idea, don't let that keep you down. No. That's not the end of that road. It's a fact. It's a fact. You can't fail unless you quit. If you just keep coming at it, if you got an attrition attitude toward success, you're gonna get it.
Yeah.
It just might look a whole lot different than you thought it would once you get to the final that end point.
Well, I look at my own business and go, like, I started out just doing a lot of programming, and then now I'm doing consulting with the federal government, and I've got this event app startup.
Yeah.
I never predicted that I was going to go on that path.
Yeah.
In 2012 when I graduated. Like, you look at your own path.
Yeah.
Like, would you have predicted that you would have the casual athlete?
No.
Way back when?
Not a chance. Not a chance. Up until like the day before, I literally just made the decision one day. I'm doing this.
Yeah.
I'm making a business, and I went through the process and got the master business license and all that kind of stuff. And then I crossed the threshold.
Right.
But even the day before, I was still thinking like, oh, I should just be a fitness instructor. I'm really good at being a fitness instructor. And I got this DSW thing going on at the same time. I have 2 career paths I can go down. I have all this potential. It's positive. Right. But I made the decision. No, I'm going in this brand new way.
Right.
Just thinking back earlier in our conversation, we were talking about experience and like that priceless experience, one that doesn't involve money.
Yeah.
What's your most priceless experience when it comes to entrepreneurship? Like that thing that's influenced you the most that's not money centric?
Oh, man. I mean, I've had a lot of moments I can think of where I'm like, money couldn't have bought this experience if I would have tried. Like,
yeah.
My mind immediately goes to a whole bunch of times where I've just crashed events. Yeah. Like there's
You're an event crasher?
Dude, I love it. Like there was an event, I think last year, it was at the convention center. It was it was in 2016. And I remember I just decided I was going to sit at the frontmost table. And so I sit down at that table, and, Mike Moffat, an economist, he lectured up at Ivy, and now he's up in Ottawa doing consulting with a think tank. Him and I are talking. We've talked on Twitter before. Him and I get talking, and that's kind of cool. And then all of a sudden, Maureen Cassidy comes over, deputy mayor, and she introduces herself. I'm like, oh, hey, cool. Hey, good to see you. Then another business figure comes over, and, Twee Brown.
Yeah.
She comes over and, shake her hand, and good to see her because I saw her at Mo Mondays. And then Matt Brown comes over, the mayor, shake his hand, and then they make the announcement. It's like, well, we're going to be starting in 5 minutes. Everybody take your seats. And they take their seats at this table, and I sit down too, and I suddenly realize, oh, I'm at the mayor's table.
Please say you stayed there.
I stayed there
Yeah,
the whole
you
time.
stayed there.
I still have the CTV. I still have the CTV News frame grab that I sent to my mother that night.
That's amazing.
And then I did a whole bunch of selfies too with the mayor as well. The thing is, I've met Matt Brown a couple times now. What I didn't realize about Matt Brown, sorry man, is that he's a little bit short. He's kind of a shorter guy. And so like we did a couple selfies together, and he's, down here. And my favorite, I think in terms of one of the most priceless moments, is I love going to those events and then sending those pictures over to my parents with no description, no pretext,
no context.
Like another one was going to this was before Trudeau was elected prime minister. He had a town hall here in London, and then after the town hall, we got the chance to meet him, and I got a picture taken with him. Got someone to take it I had a real bitchin' camera at the time, so we had a super good resolution photo of this. Somebody actually on Facebook said, you two look like brothers.
Nice. That's all right.
Yeah, I'm like, that's a pretty good one. I'll take that one.
Yeah.
That's a good compliment.
Yeah.
And so again, without any warning, send that one over to mom, and she just absolutely loses it.
It's nice to send that stuff to parents when you're older, when you're an adult,
Oh, yeah.
And they're still putting that stuff up on the fridge.
Oh, I know. I keep sending her these ones. Like last night, Ed Holder, because he just won it came out today.
Congratulations,
he's our mayor.
Ed.
Yeah, well done him. I think he's going to do a real good job, personally.
Yeah.
I've met him a couple times. He's one of those people that when you talk to him, he... bring your A game, because he's going to make you think.
Yeah. That's the kind of guy that you want at the helm, though.
Yeah.
Someone that's got good questions.
Yeah.
And somebody that's got good vision.
Yeah.
And that's not something you can teach, right? That's an intrinsic value, I think, that or intrinsic characteristic that people have, is that ability to have that vision forward.
Yeah.
It's totally not anything against people who are very grounded in the here and now.
Sure.
And are detail focused in that way, because nothing works without them, period.
Yeah.
But without visionaries, and people with tough, that I don't know, that it's a je ne sais quoi situation here. But that Ed Holder, that type of personality that he presents, that's the kind of person you would want leading a city, or even something smaller like a team.
Oh, for sure. I found it really interesting. When I was at the National Research Council as a co-op student, he was the Minister for Science at that time.
I had no idea.
Yeah. And what I realized, like looking back on it, there was a series of decisions that was made about the National Research Council at that time that seemed questionable. Like they were transitioning from just doing science for the sake of to almost becoming like a subsidized consulting firm for small business, for small and medium business. However, that transition is really starting to pay off now.
Okay.
I feel anyway. I'm sure there's folks from the NRC that would disagree with me, but I feel like that transition is starting to pay off.
Yeah.
Because we're starting to see NRC team up with businesses like Siemens Canada.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I mean, they just did a huge experiment out east on the East Coast. They published a couple papers about it, done some really incredible stuff. There's some new experiments going on, but we're starting to see the fruits of those labors pay off now. And it was a painful transition, for sure. But part of that was, I think, thanks to Ed's leadership. So,
well, with that kind of person at the helm, somebody that's willing to make decisions in tough situations too.
Yeah.
It's not easy being in that leadership role. And I think in the world that we live in with partisan politics and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I mean, take one look at the comments section on anything related to this election on Facebook and see how people are reacting and the kinds of questions and stuff like that politicians have to find a way to be polite about. And the quick draw idea of like, you're an idiot and you're so stupid for not thinking this way, or if you're this way or you're not that way, or it's crazy. And so for someone to keep a straight head and a trusted voice in the community, even if it's not everybody that votes for the guy, at least you know that there's a good body of people who understand where this person is coming from and can make this plan work until there's another election.
Yeah.
That's the thing about elections, is there's always another one.
Well, yeah, exactly.
The political environment in London has gotten concerning. Have you noticed this? Have you seen that?
I mean, the situation with Matt Brown, if you're talking about the mayor, I guess specify.
Okay, fair enough. Not about the mayor. It's about the atmosphere that's happening, right? So when I'm engaging on social media at any level of politics, I'm noticing there's a division between people want to know if you're conservative or liberal, even though there's several parties.
Oh yeah,
right?
yeah.
And that there's like crossover in political issues,
Yes.
And so like asking a mayor what their stance on immigration is. Something like that. And they would have an opinion, but only as it relates to London.
Sure.
Right. But I feel like that there's a population out there that wants to have a bigger answer. Everything is a national occurrence.
Right.
And it's got personal. And so on a lot of these, especially on radio stations, I like following radio stations on Facebook. They've got cool content and stuff like that. I'm talking to you, FM 96. But
shout out to those guys. They interviewed me when Trump won.
Oh, no way.
That was such a funny interview. I actually ended up posting it on somewhere.
I'm definitely going to look that up.
This is when I was still doing In the News Today. I'll send you the link later.
Okay.
But it was man, that was a trippy night.
What a day. What a night. What a few years it's been.
So I hung out with Democrats abroad that night.
Okay.
At the Palisade.
Yeah.
And it started out as a celebration. Like everybody was sure that he was going to lose.
Yeah.
And it was just this big celebration. Like, yes, we're never going to have to talk about Orange Crush.
Yeah.
And the ferret that's on his head. And then, and then he started to win a couple states, and then we were all kind of like, okay, yeah, but he can't, this can't possibly continue. And then he won Florida, and everybody went, oh shit.
Yeah. I went to school for history and political science.
Yeah.
I will never understand that election. I'll never understand it. He broke every single rule. But that's my thing, though. And this is what post-secondary education has done, is it's created an elitist attitude towards certain social situations, right? And so we had a man who was, it's not right. It's not right.
Sure.
It should be based on intellect and academia and ethics and everything like that.
Sure.
As politics has been up until this new era.
Yeah.
There was a concern about how polite and how well a president lived their life up to becoming president and stuff. And then we had a president who has several accusations from women of sexual harassment and sexual assault.
Yeah.
He has said things in public that I don't need to repeat. I mean, everyone's heard it ad nauseum,
Sure.
right? And every single rule was broken. Hillary did excellent in the debates.
Yeah.
She was polling well across the United States.
Yeah.
And when the rubber hit the road, people chose Donald Trump.
Yeah.
In the Electoral College.
Yes.
That set off a forest fire of competence on the other side of the coin here, right? And so as Canadians, we're kind of standing outside the fire watching it burn in the United States right now, trying to see what's going to happen. Is this good? Maybe they needed to have all this taken down so it could rebuild, right? And maybe it is stagnant, and maybe that's what he meant by emptying the swamp, right?
Yeah.
On the other side of things, how dare you say the things you've said to women, and how dare you say the things you've said to people with disabilities? It angers me that this is allowed. And when I see this in our city, and when I see this on a microcosm in my neighborhood on my social media, it's easy to get upset over this stuff, and it is easy to globalize and make it everything.
Right. Yeah. I suppose that is very true. That's because I know it was really interesting because between 2015, 2016, because like I remember when he announced his intent to run in 2015. Again, I was still doing that daily show in the news today. I was doing a daily YouTube thing. And I remember covering that story, and my punchline there was with his hair as vice president. Because we all thought it was a joke. Like he was going to be the joke candidate.
Yeah.
And then the answer was, well, he's not going to win any primaries. Are you kidding me? And then he started knocking them out left, right, and center.
Yeah.
Not that the Republicans were running anyone particularly inspiring anyway.
No.
At all.
They're not running a unity campaign.
No, they weren't. That's the moment where they should have rolled out Dick Cheney.
Yes.
That's as much as you can say a lot of things about that man, and they're all true, I'm sure. I'm not saying he's a good person in any way, shape, or form, but that's, he would have, that would have been hilarious to watch that happen.
Yeah.
I spent that 2015, 2016 really trying to understand why Donald Trump was winning as much as he was.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because I remember thinking as he was saying what he was saying and just hearing, and maybe this is what you're referring to a bit. I remember walking around London and talking with certain groups of people, and they would be like, yeah, right on. Like they were closet Trump supporters.
Yeah.
There was a lot of that around here.
Yeah. Going back to the political science background, right? It really makes me think, what has upset people so much that they distrust a politician that much, where it's an actual rejection of all politicians as president, right? And an acceptance of somebody from the corporate community as president.
Yeah.
And the corporate community treats people a lot differently than the political community does.
Sure.
And they talk differently. Going back to the culture thing, it's a completely different culture.
Yeah.
And for some reason, there was enough Americans who believed in this corporate culture more than they believed in the traditional American political culture. And so they started talking a whole new language, man. They started doing entirely new rituals.
Yeah.
They had entirely new leaders within their ranks. And some of these leaders are white supremacists and Nazis. How that exists in America, I have no idea. They pride themselves in killing Nazis. Like, I don't know how this is now a thing.
Right.
Donald Trump has recently referred to himself as a nationalist.
Oh, good. That'll be fun.
Oh, this is awesome. But the thing is that this is expecting all citizens to be political scientists or just interested in politics in general, right? If you don't know what nationalism means and what especially a white person saying nationalist means, then it has a completely different definition for you. So you're coming at it from a completely different angle. And the way that a lot of other people, the Trump supporters are looking at it is he is a nationalist because he loves our country. Do you see what I mean?
There's a big difference there.
Yes. They see the root word and then, he's about our nation.
Right.
Right. And this is how Donald Trump is winning, is that his language matches the language of people who are disenfranchised.
Yeah.
But he's manipulative and he's using it to create a wealth base in corporate America. And that's what people voted for some reason.
At the same time, I can't help but look at that election and go, that was not and nothing against Hillary Clinton, nothing against her. Was that the wisest, given the support that Bernie Sanders did have, and given all the nonsense that happened there, and given how wacky Donald Trump was? I mean, the fact that Bernie was not on that ticket.
Bernie reminds me of Jack Layton. You know?
Yeah, really.
He's the guy that shoulda.
right.
He's the guy that shoulda. But there's all these outside factors. The worst of all being the hacking of his campaign and
Yes.
basically the implosion that the DNC created for Bernie Sanders.
Yeah.
Which is shame on them.
But why? But why the hell did Hillary not put him on that ticket?
Because she wanted it to be for women.
I guess, but still.
And it's okay. It's okay that she wanted that. America needs that, right?
Sure.
And Bernie Sanders, even though his resume is perfect for the United States, especially as a follow-up for Barack Obama,
Yeah.
he's another white guy.
Yeah.
And so when the DNC was trying to understand who's going to be the person,
Right.
even though I believe too that Bernie Sanders would have been a better pick, should have been on the ticket.
Yeah. Like, I'm not even talking about him being the Democratic primary winner.
Yeah.
I'm just talking about it being a Hillary at the top of the ticket and Bernie as VP.
Underneath. Yeah, it's I think it's just so she could, that makes me think.
Like, think about that one. Can you imagine if that? Because I have the funny feeling that if he would have secured the nomination,
Yeah.
he would have run her as VP.
Bernie's
And
a better politician. He
Yeah.
is.
Yeah, I'll give you that. But Hillary's she's pretty freaking sharp too.
Oh, she's a genius, man. You don't get to where she's at without being smart.
Oh, yeah.
You don't. And
she's a crazy good lawyer.
And I'll fall back on you don't get there without being real good, right? And the reason why there's so much anger at her is because of how good she is at doing what she does. There's a reason why they're not finding anything on her.
Yeah.
They can't. They've tried dragging her name through the mud. They've done everything they can to lock her up.
Yeah.
And it's never happening.
She is the Teflon maiden, man.
There's going to be stories talked about her the way that we talk about Margaret Thatcher and stuff like that. Now, she is a tough lady.
Oh, yeah.
Even Donald Trump, he was asked what he thought about Hillary after the election. It was kind of an aside.
Yeah.
And he's like, she is the toughest chick I've ever, the toughest lady, or something more disparaging than that,
right.
But that I've ever had to compete with.
Oh, yeah.
And when he was asked if you could go back in time and you could undo anything that you've done, what would it be? And he joked and said, become president. And I don't know. And in every joke, there's an ounce of truth, man.
There is.
And so sometimes I wonder if he wasn't expecting this.
You gotta wonder. You really gotta wonder.
Yeah.
But I mean, that man, his prime directive in life is to win at any cost.
Yes, absolutely. He can't lose. Even when he loses, he would frame it as a win.
Oh yeah.
It's very well. His book that he didn't write. Really details this though.
But I'll say it's worth reading. Have you read it?
No, I haven't.
It is worth reading. It gives, what I remember is in early 2016, I read through it cover to cover like 2 or 3 times just to really understand this guy. When you look at that, read the book, then rewatch part of the campaign, and you'll go, and you will be able to answer the pundit's question of how is he doing this? Mm-hmm. It was written about in the late 80s, early 90s in Art of the Deal.
Yeah, that's exactly what he did. He treated the election as a negotiation.
A complete negotiation. And the most painful part is he laid the whole damn thing out in the book.
Yeah.
Like, he literally wrote the book on negotiation. Like it or not.
Steve Bannon had a big hand in that.
Oh, huge part.
Now, he is probably the most successful influencer ever.
Yeah.
He is a kingmaker for President Trump.
Oh, yeah.
And it found it interesting, his exit and how all that went down, and the book and the media circus.
Now, I've not read Bannon's book yet.
I haven't either. I can't, to be honest with you, man, I can't drag myself to this literature. I can't do it.
There's so much coming out. That's the other part too. It's like, how the hell do you keep up?
Well, it makes me think, like, okay, Pearl Jam did a thing a while back to interfere with bootleggers, and what they were doing was putting out so much live content.
Oh yeah.
That it became so difficult to find the actual studio track online.
Yeah.
And so they created so much content that it actually pushed people away instead of brought people in. And it makes me wonder if it's part of its strategy to create so much media content that it's hard to dial in on the actual issues.
Well, Scott Adams talked about that, and that's a big part of Trump's thing.
Yeah.
Is just putting out so much. It's like, what the hell do you latch? By the time you get through the whole thing, you're just like, oh man, I need a nap.
You're mentally exhausted. Yeah, absolutely.
And think about us. We're able to talk about that. Like, we've had a full day.
Yeah.
You and I both have had full day. We're doing this podcast. We're reasonably healthy. We eat fairly well. We've got a decent amount of energy, and we're tired trying to process this shit.
Yeah.
Imagine the average person who's going to work doing a 9 to 5. They've been up early. They're not necessarily eating the best. They got to get the kids off to school. They got to go, them and the wife are trying to figure stuff out. They're trying to figure out what dinner's going to look like. They have a full day at work. They fight traffic coming home. They pick up the kids from whatever, get them off to whatever they got to go to next. It's 8, 9, maybe 10 at night before they finally have a chance to sit down. And now they're going to have to process this stuff. How in the hell?
Right? And so, like, I guess we go back to the culture talk, right?
Yeah.
And so you need something. If you're going to get the news or you're going to get a message from your leader, you want it to be consumable and easy to pick a side. You're exhausted. So when you're talking to an exhausted public, you know what, Joe Blow, you just had a tough day at work. And you know who's trying to take your job? Some illegal Mexican. How you feeling about that, tired Joe Blow?
Yeah, really.
I feel like shit about that.
Yeah.
I'm working my butt off for my job, and and then you start falling into the culture, and you don't even know, right? It's so immersive.
We're not doing nuance anymore. Like, look at the election we just had in the city of London. Like, that was the least nuanced election I've ever seen.
Yeah.
It really boiled down to, do you support BRT? Yes or no?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Like, yes, no, and that was basically that was the one question.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was like, okay, well, are we going to discuss this thing at all? What the alternate? Not really.
Yeah.
And nobody really cared. I mean, I'm just trying to think of who said what on the campaign, and I can't even think about that. I mean, Holder basically said, we got to be, let's get real here. Let's create something that's not a stupid little BRT thing, and let's create something that's cool. I'm sitting back and going, let's build a friggin' monorail and a subway, because why the hell not? Let's make it cool.
Let's step up our game here.
Like Kitchener-Waterloo, I said this on Twitter a few days ago. I basically removed myself from Twitter because I've been so close to saying things that I know I'll regret.
That was a really wise choice, man.
Yeah.
A lot of people, it's easy to fall into that.
Oh, and there was some times where I would just feel like crap. Just being on Twitter and tweeting stuff out. I was just like, I can't do this. This is not good for me. But I remember, because I did a day trip to Kitchener-Waterloo a few weeks ago, and in 2007, 2008, they basically laid out the plans for a light rail transit system. And their system is about to come online now. And my tweet was something like, in 10 years, Kitchener-Waterloo, and this was right after that the physicist, the female physicist, I forget her name. Damn, she's a Nobel Prize winner too, which is like doubly embarrassing.
That's awesome.
Yeah, like, and one of the few female Nobel Prize winners ever.
Yeah, and
she did crazy. Her research is like just this incredibly innovative, crazy laser stuff. I don't even know what the hell it is. I think there's maybe 7 people in the world actually understand what it is, but it's going to fundamentally change society. It's awesome. And she's the one who's come up with this with a couple of researchers, and it's just incredible. But my tweet was, okay, so in 10 years, Kitchener-Waterloo built a light rail transit system and won a Nobel Prize. What the frig have we done?
Yeah, right?
The University of Western Ontario is just like, oh, we don't want light rail transit coming through our university campus. Are you shitting me?
Yeah.
It's right outside.
It would be so popular.
It's like you go to the light rail transit stop it cuts through University of Waterloo campus.
Yeah.
It cuts through the damn thing.
Yeah.
Like it bifurcates the campus in half.
Mm-hmm.
It literally.
Yeah.
How can you not want that?
Yeah.
Now I can answer that question, but that'll get me kicked out of UWO for forever.
Don't answer the question.
But that's the thing is, like, and our answer was LRT is this was my criticism of the last council is like LRT became too hard to sell.
Mm-hmm.
So we went to this watered down BRT thing, which we know Ottawa's tried, and they basically went, oh, well, this was a nightmare.
Yeah.
And so they're going to light rail.
Yeah.
It's like, so, okay, so yeah, in 10 years, Kitchener-Waterloo came up with a light rail system, and they won a friggin' Nobel Prize.
Yeah.
What have we done?
I think this is like a fear of leadership, like a fear of being the one that spends the money and takes the risk and does something like that because of the perceived idea of something that can go wrong.
Yeah.
Right? But there's this whole thing about people wanting to make their judgments based on exceptionalities, right?
Yeah.
Oh, this might happen, and it just might happen.
Yeah.
Right. But it doesn't mean that exceptionality undoes every single benefit of having it,
And you know what? It probably will happen.
Yes. And because we can see it, right?
Sure.
But that's why we have a committee together to minimize the chance of that happening. Any transit system is going to have problems.
Yes.
Any transit system. And the one that we have is a problem.
Yeah.
And so for anyone who's riding the bus and listening to this podcast, or for anybody who's used to taking public transit, I know you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And so why not have another way, and something that's not where we were told there was going to be a light rail. And then it's like, oh, we put the picture on the Travel London thing, but now we're going to, quietly turn this into a bus thing. And then it got not so quiet.
Yeah.
And now we're in a situation, right? Whereas if they didn't have that fear of leadership when the first opportunity was there, we wouldn't be in this situation. This is a manufactured political problem that happened a generation of politics ago.
Yeah. Well, how many times have people said too, like, I wish a year later, you'll wish you have started a year ago.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, so we've gone like 4 years ago. The big thing was with Joe Fontana. We were going to have a ring road around London.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, well, that was cute. We've been saying that since the 70s.
Yeah.
And then we had 4 years ago was now we're really going to get serious about transit.
Yeah.
So we're 4 years into that, and we're still nowhere with the damn transit situation. And it's
everyone's still waiting at the bus stop.
Yeah.
That's what it's coming down to. And this is
literally and figuratively.
Yeah, absolutely, man. This is what is toxifying the political environment.
Yeah.
Is like this Joe Blow everyday experience, right? Where you're waiting at the bus, you're hearing politicians talk about a train, you're talking about new bus and talk. Meanwhile, you're standing out in the cold or in the heat, and you're getting onto a bus where, you're worried about sickness or you're worried about whatever could happen on a bus, right? And
if it shows up.
Yes. And so that's where we're at. We don't have a transit system that people are proud of.
No.
We don't have a transit system that people want to wait and get onto and experience.
Yeah.
If we had something like that, people would. Torontonians are proud of their subway.
Yeah.
Proud. And they want to expand it. And that's what their political issues are, is how do we make this thing that's good better?
Yeah.
Not how do we make this thing that's not so good into a theory or into, I don't know.
How do we make this thing that sucks mediocre?
There you go. There we go. Batting for mediocre.
Because that's what I feel like, right? Because even if we aim for monorail, it's like maybe we'll get LRT. That'd be kind of cool.
That would be.
I was also thinking about, because some people have made the argument that, well, Toronto needs transit because they're huge. Well, okay, fair enough. Toronto is huge. You can't shove, that many millions of people into a small space and expect them all to drive.
True.
But let's take a look at London these days.
Yeah. Well, we were talking about a census, right?
Yeah.
And upwards of 500,000,
Yeah.
500,000. And I mean, it's the context here. It's easy to put London beside Toronto and say London's a small city.
Yeah.
But when I say 500,000 people, that is a lot of people.
And a third of that lives within, I think it was 3 or 4 kilometers of the downtown London
That's
core.
incredible. And so, like, that amount of people are going to be using the transit system in town, right? And if we
Or
make
they're driving.
well, right. And if you're driving in town and you're that close to the core, unless you're going out of town commuter or whatever,
Yeah.
it's a nightmare driving in London these days.
Oh my
man.
God.
And so, like, driving in your car isn't even that much better than the bus, depending
No.
on which day it is, right? And so, yet another reason for effective transit, so we can move cars a little bit better through the town.
Yeah.
Effectively, a bus is a reduction of a lane all the way down, unless we got a bus lane. And while I'm very thankful for the places where they have carved out a section where the bus can pull over and traffic's not interrupted, that's not everywhere.
No.
And my experience as a driver is affected by a person's experience with the bus. It's funny like that.
But there's also intersections in the city. Like if we get into the real nitty gritty in London, there's an intersection at Oxford and Warncliffe where there's not a dedicated right-hand turn lane. Mm-hmm. And if you're going at that intersection at any time of the day, it's basically a horror show. Because if you have somebody that's making a right-hand turn and they're blocked by a pedestrian, that right lane gets shut down.
Yeah.
It's just shut down. So that creates just that awful choke point. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And you get the same thing at Oxford and Woodward as well.
Yeah.
Just down from Cherry Hill Mall. Again, if there's a pedestrian crossing, that right lane's blocked.
Yep.
It just does not move.
Oh man, like, okay, I play volleyball actually just at the school nearby here.
Yeah.
And that intersection right there in front of Cherry Hill Mall.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It's a nightmare, and especially if one of those big extended buses is moving through the intersection. And it gets me wondering, like, imagine when school buses are coming out of there too.
I don't have to imagine that. I've been stuck in that crap.
I bet, man. And it's just a nightmare, right?
Oh, it is.
But if we take that big piece of machinery out of that equation, that one big bus out of there, and we have a light rail solution, or we have a monorail solution or something instead, where we can run things underneath of it and run that rapid transit at the same time.
Yeah.
Right? Now we're into something special.
Yeah.
Right? Yes, it's going to cost money. And yes, it's going to affect our taxes and stuff like that. But this is why we pay them, is to have things like this taken care of for us, right? Do we want our politicians just to save money for nothing, for whatever?
But the money's going to get spent anyway.
Right? So
that's the thing.
Let's spend it on something that people are fired up about. You want to connect with the people in London? Connect with this issue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that was, like, think about, I feel like we've really lost the ability to dream in London sometimes too. Of just like, let's build, like, do we technically need a monorail? No. But how friggin' cool would that be?
This is the motivators in both of us talking, I think, too, because we could see this, right?
Yes.
We can understand the potential in this. And I think when people are thinking about these issues, they should be thinking about potential.
Yeah.
It's easy to think about how the first version of this is going to fail, right?
Yes.
But anything takes time to master, right?
Like Kitchener-Waterloo's light rail transit system was not a bed of roses.
No.
As much as we praise it now, and I mean, it's not even online yet. It's like that thing was over budget. There's you can run down the political issues that befell that project until the cows come home.
Yep.
But they did something.
Yep.
They did something. And traffic flows there.
Thank goodness, right?
Yeah.
We got in an argument today with somebody over leadership and Canadian leadership and our responsibility outside of just Canada and our responsibility to the global community.
Right.
But bringing this down to kind of what we're talking about, so this person responded that it's not our job to be leaders for other people. It's our job to take care of ourselves. And I think that kind of thinking is holding Londoners back, where it's, we could be a leader in this. We have the opportunity. There's the money in this town. There's no doubt about it.
Sure.
Right? We can do it. But we're opting purposely not to be a leader because there's money to be saved or because I can take care of my own, right? If we can get into a situation where we have a broader thought, it goes past just what the first level of it is. And let's say that's just moving people around the city. Right. And we get into the pollution argument, and we get into the mobility argument for how much better traffic can move around. And all these other satellite things that are really big and really important, but you have to have vision to understand how it connects to the larger issue.
Yes.
If we choose not to be a leader and opt away from vision, then what we do is we constantly end up with failed projects or non-started ones. Yeah,
well, non-started ones is what we're facing right now. I think it's also, and getting back to that, it's also a lack of the leaders willing to put their necks on the line. Because sometimes there's the correct thing to do and the right thing to do, and they're not always the same thing.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And it takes... It takes a really smart person to make the right choice in that every time. Yeah. I don't know. I'm glad I don't have the final call on all this, man.
Because there is a certain amount of political sacrifice that you'll have to make on the altar of transit. If you get it wrong, that's your political career potentially done.
Absolutely.
So on that, because I have talked with certain counselors, I won't name names.
Yeah.
But one counselor I talked with in particular, because I did a talk at Ignite London in November 2015 about free to use public transit. Because I thought, well, wouldn't that be kind of a fun idea? It started out as like the weirdest little thought experiment. Because I was like, what if we just made the bus free for people to use?
Yeah.
How much would that actually cost us? And then I did the research and realized, well, hold on a second. Between all of our tax dollars, we're already fronting between 60 and 66% of the London Transit Commission's budget.
Yeah.
Through our taxes right now. So we're basically just, by doing nothing else, 2/3 of the LTC is paid for.
Yeah.
And fares are only paying for the other third. If you extrapolate the tax increase, it works out to $83 per person per year. If you taxed all the people, including babies, and just got an extra $83 out of them a year, that would make up that 1/3 shortfall.
You know what? I wouldn't be surprised if that's Donald Trump's next tax move.
Yeah, really. But when I did that calculation, I was just kind of like, that isn't that interesting. Like 83, if everybody paid $83 a year, considering that an adult bus pass is $85 a month.
Yeah.
So $83 a year out of everybody else's pocket, and you've got the ability to just walk on the bus, go wherever you want to, and get off the bus. And it's like when you sit down and do those numbers, you just go, well, why the hell are we not doing this?
Yeah.
And then you think to yourself, well, one of the counter arguments is always, well, other places have done this, but we don't have that. We've never done that. Yeah. But yet we kind of do. Like, we now have children under 13. They get to ride the bus for free, which I'm not saying that I was the one that prompted that political move, and it might have been coincidence, but like within a month or two of doing that presentation to the counselor that I did it to, suddenly we had an announcement for those 13 and under would have free bus usage. Went to council and went through without opposition, I might add.
Nice.
Nobody bitched about that one.
Yeah.
But we already had free bus passes for if you're blind.
Yeah.
We had geared to income passes for seniors. We've had that for a while.
Yeah.
I didn't realize this. There were some charity passes that have been, so private charities in the city buy a certain block of bus passes and hand those out to low-income individuals. I didn't realize we had that. And then when you look at full-time Fanshawe and Western students, that just comes out of their tuition.
Yeah.
And it's not a big fee either.
No,
it's not a big fee.
It's really not.
Like, it works out to $300 or $400 a year or something like that. It's nothing. So, and when you do the numbers on how many people had the free to use transit, it was already 1 in 4.
Yeah.
1 in 4 Londoners had free to use transit. So it's like, well, why don't we just expand it to the other 3 and 4?
Yeah.
And the reason I got at the time was, well, that would be just really politically difficult to do. That was the answer that I got.
That's a lacking answer, I would say.
Yeah, I was a little bit taken aback. I didn't really know how to respond to that at the time. And in the car, I was fuming.
Yeah.
I was just like, are you kidding me? Like, the politically hot, that's your job.
Yeah.
That's why we put you in the hot seat.
Yeah.
Is to do hard stuff. It's like, if you want easy, go home.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, these are tough issues, right?
Oh, sure.
And there is pressure, and people are passionate about this. And I'm thankful that Canadians are getting their feet wet politically these days. And I like that. I like that people are talking about it more and involving themselves more. I'm glad that you had that kind of influence and the guts to get up and talk to counselors and stuff like that. And the counselors in the city are willing to listen.
They are.
I went to a Pints and Politics thing down at on King Street at Which is Which.
Oh, cool.
They make a awesome sandwich there, man. So good. But it was interesting because it was a group of like Joe Blows there and people who are just like interested politically in what the city was doing. And then a couple counselors. I can't even remember who was there.
Right.
But I do remember that the topic was historical buildings in London.
Yep.
And their value and which ones we keep and which ones we should get rid of and whatever. And I'm big on history and I'm big on preserving historical buildings. So I felt like I had some skin in the game in this one.
Yep.
And it was interesting getting in there and being able to confront a politician on a certain thing and then getting a respectful answer back and feeling really part of the political process as far as influence through communication. Right. It's really easy for us to look at the news and it's just like a sounding board for us and we could curse it or we can,
these damn politicians, how dare they?
But when we're actually like confronted with them, and I don't mean confrontation in an aggressive way. I just mean like you got something to talk about and it's not easy, right? And you can hash it out person to person. That's when you're actually influencing politics. And you can see if it was what you said that influenced that person's decision, it's exactly this paradigm we're talking about, right? If you can get in there and talk to this politician, you can influence what happens.
Yes.
If you're passive, though, and you just bitch about what's in the newspaper or, I hate Trudeau or I love Trudeau and that's as far as it goes.
Yeah.
You're not even participating in the political process. You've done nothing to actually try to influence what's happening. Right.
And these politicians, they like to talk to people.
Yes, they want to.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, they've become so ill-trusted that people are just not even willing to listen to them, even though they're very credible and good people.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a weird time. It's a historical time right now.
Well, and there's so much, they deal so much too with just people, bitching them out on Twitter or Facebook or whatever social media platform it is.
Yeah.
And it's, you actually sit down with, and I've sat down with people that, with politicians that it's like, okay, well, I don't necessarily agree with you or what you do or whatever, but, on a person to person level, what's really funny is when you sit down, even with people that are on the other side of the political spectrum to you, I don't know if you've found this, but I've at least found that we're generally on the same page.
There's details, but when I'm talking to, like, I've got friends, right?
Yeah.
People are conservative, liberal, NDP, communist, you name it, all over the place, right? But what I find is that at the end of the conversation, once we've had a civil conversation, we're pretty much, again, like on the same wavelength.
Yeah.
Just little I would do it this way and you would do it that way kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
With generally kind of the same outcome in mind.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We fundamentally, we all want a nice place, a nice, secure place to live.
It's Maslow's hierarchy of needs, ultimately.
Yeah.
Right? And what politicians' role is safety and security.
Yeah.
And that's all we want. Everyone wants the same thing at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And we are a body as a citizenship. And we really do have to look out for each other, even when we disagree with one another.
Yeah.
And be open to compromise, not one solution or the other. You might have your solution in mind, but you got to let go of the fact that that's going to be the entire solution.
Yeah.
We do have to think about what's happening on the other side of the coin. No matter how much we disagree with it, we got to make it work.
Well, and it's too easy just to shout at each other.
It is.
It's way too easy to just say, you're the bad guy and I'm the good guy, and we just scream at each other.
Absolutely. There's never been a battle won. No political debate has been won like that. Nothing has ever been won through that kind of interaction with one another. We got to be smart about this stuff and not passive.
Yeah.
Not passive.
No, absolutely. Wow, that has gone on a totally different direction.
We went everywhere, man.
We've gone everywhere. Holy crap. We started out with casual athlete, and now we've talked about how to basically solve the world's problems.
That's what I'm all about, though. That's
Yeah.
this is the talks I love to have, man.
Yeah.
Fixing the world. Like, this is how we do it.
Yeah. Through dial. And this is more critical than ever.
Yeah.
I really think that these kinds of people just sitting down and talking through our problems is like, because I've found with my own life, it's too easy to just turn inwards and think certain ways about other people and think certain ways about certain issues and never sort of step back and say, hey, we should go and talk about this.
Yeah.
We should talk this one through.
And this is what you're saying is so perfect with what
Yeah.
we were just talking about. Actually having the chance to talk to somebody face to face about issues.
Yeah.
I mean, your podcast is going to be an awesome platform, but anybody's podcast, you
Yes.
know? And if people are interested in what they're hearing right now and they think they could be on this side of the microphone, you should definitely do it.
Yeah.
Because this creates the ability for us to talk about it, rather than be passive and let social media decide all of this for us.
Yeah.
This rehumanizes the conversation.
Yeah. And it's something that we're desperately missing.
I agree.
Desperately missing. It's just I don't know, Twitter, as fun as Twitter is, I do feel like there is a certain impact it's had with our ability to process
Undeniable.
information.
Undeniable. The human brain is only made for so many ways of communication. And in history, there's only been certain ways that we did it. And then all of a sudden, the technological revolution
Yep.
has given us a million different ways to do
Yes.
it. And so you're right, man. It is difficult to process because the computing capacity of the brain only has so much it can do. And so if you're bombarding it with different kinds of communication, it's like standing it's like the Tower of Babel, man.
Yeah.
Is everyone's talking different languages and it's impossible to understand everything.
Well, and just the volume of information that you can be exposed to on a daily basis.
Yeah.
On a daily basis.
All the time, sometimes a nightly basis too, if it's
Yeah.
keeping you up. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We're now only seeing tools provided by Google and Apple on the devices to actually limit our exposure at night.
yeah. This is an emerging issue.
Oh, yeah.
The younger generation, this is certainly not a judgment on them. This is just the tools they have in their pocket, right?
Yes.
But it's harder for them to sleep because the blue light from their phone, and it usually for a lot of people, it's the last thing you look at before you go to bed.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's hard for your brain to switch just from that light to no light. It's like a light shock. Right.
Yeah.
And so I'm glad that there's new information about put your phone down, like dim the lights in your house, take half an hour before you go to sleep without screen time,
Yeah.
Things like that. But with this bombardment, there's a lot of people who are having processing errors.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And so we got to start thinking of our brains as a computer. And it is.
Yeah.
And unless we start programming it right and giving it the right input, we're going to get the wrong output.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're just going to fight.
Yeah.
You know what? I think that's a good place to end this one off.
Yeah, man.
Wow.
Obviously, we got a lot to talk about. We should do this again.
Yeah. I'm game to do it again.
All right, man. So let's do that.
Greg, thank you so much. I couldn't have asked for a better guest for the first show.
This has been great for me. I always love talking about relevant issues. When we first started talking about your podcast, I knew it was going to be something special. I can't wait to see what happens with it, man.
I'm really, and I just want to say a preemptive thank you to the people that have reached out so far, that I've reached out to and asked to come on the podcast and have said yes.
I saw on Facebook tons of interest.
Oh my God. I was just like, wow, this is awesome.
It's you, man. Like you bring people. You're a magnet, dude.
I can't wait. I mean, I was all day. I was just like, oh man, we're going to be able to do this. And I mean, this thing started as but I've been wanting to do some sort of a podcast of some sort, like really ever since I was in high school.
Yeah.
When podcasting first came around. And now it's like, I feel like I'm at that sweet spot in my life where I've got just enough wisdom that I can make it work.
Yeah.
But I'm now open and just know enough awesome people that, we can just have great conversations.
Yeah, man. This is great. Keep it going.
Thank you, Greg.
You're welcome.
That was awesome. All righty. Thank you for listening to Let's Solve the Universe. This podcast can be heard every Saturday at lstupodcast.com. For more information about Let's Solve the Universe, head over to our Facebook page, Let's Solve the Universe Podcast, or check out the Let's Solve the Universe website because you want to. Complete show notes and information about all our guests can be found there. And I thank you, dear listener, for sharing your time with us. And we'll talk to you next Saturday.